how big of a threat are cyber attacks for companies and for individuals? Like, let's lay out where are we in this world? What's out there?
It's the wild, wild west, and it's. I mean, people want the idea of security, but it's inconvenient, so they push back on it. And there are a lot of opportunistic nation state, financially motivated hackers for the lulz. You got 3 different tiers there. And they're on the prowl. They have tools. They have really good tools that are being used against us.
And at what scale? So when you're thinking of, I don't know let's talk about companies first. So say you're talking to a mid-tier. I wonder what the most interesting business is. So Google, we can look at large tech companies, or we can look at medium-sized tech companies. And like, you were sitting in a room with a CTO, with a CEO, and the question is, how fucked are we? And what should we do? What's the low-hanging fruit? What are the different strategies and those companies should consider?
I mean, the problem is they want a push button. They want a out of the box solution that I'm secure. They want to tell people they're secure,
and that's very challenging to have.
It's impossible. But like, if someone had it, they'd be a billionaire. They'd be beyond a billionaire. Because that's what everybody wants. So it's you can buy all the tools you want. It's configuring them the proper way. And if anyone's trying to tell you that there's one solution that fits all, they're snake oil salesmen. And there's a lot of people in cybersecurity that are snake oil salesmen.
Yeah, and I feel like there's tools, if they're not configured correctly, they just they don't increase security significantly, and they introduce a lot of pain for the people. They decrease efficiency of the actual work you have to do. So like we had I was at Google for a time, and I think mostly I want to give props to their security efforts, but user data, so like data that belongs to users, is like the holy, like the amount of security they have around that is incredible. So anytime I had to work with anything even resembling user data. So I never got a chance to work with actual user data. Anything resembling that, first of all, you have no access to the internet. It's impossible to even come close to the access to the internet. And there's so much pain to actually like interact with that data, where it was extremely inefficient. In places where I thought it didn't have to be that inefficient, the security was too much. But I have to give respect to that, because in that case, you want to err on the side of security. But that's Google. Yeah, they were doing a good job of this.
The reputational harm if it got out. I mean, Google, why is Google Drive free? Because they want your data. They want you to park your data there. So, if they got hacked or leaked information, the reputational harm would be tremendous.
But, for a company that's not, it's really hard to do that, right? And the company's not as big as Google or not as tech savvy as Google, might have a lot of trouble with doing that kind of stuff. Instead of increasing security, they'll just decrease the efficiency.
Well, yeah. So there's a big difference between IT and security, and unfortunately, like these mid-sized companies, they try to stack security into their IT department. Your IT department is about business continuity. They're about trying to move business forward. They want your users to get the data they need to do their job, so the company can grow. Security is not that. They don't want you to get the data. But there's fine tuning you can do to, ensure that. I mean, as simple as like having good onboarding procedures for employees. Like you come into my company, you don't need access to everything. Maybe you need access to something for one day. Turn the access on. Don't leave it on. I mean, I was the victim of the OPM hack, the Office of Personnel Management, because old credentials from a third-party vendor were sitting there inactive, and the Chinese government found those credentials and were able to log in and steal all my information.
So a lot could be helped if you just control the credentials, the access control, how long they last, and people who need access to a certain thing only get access to that thing and not nothing else, and then it just gets refreshed like that.
Access control, like we said, setting up people leaving the company, get rid of they don't need control. Two-factor authentication, that's a big thing. I mean, I sound like a broken record because this isn't anything new. This isn't rocket science. The problem is we're not implementing it. If we are, we're not doing it correctly, because these guys are taking us.
Well, two-factor authentication is a good example of something that I just was annoyed by for the longest time, because yes, it's very good, but like it seems that it's pretty easy to implement horribly, to where it's like it's not convenient at all for the legitimate user to use. It should be trivial to do, like to authenticate yourself twice should be super easy.
If it's slightly inconvenient for you, think about how inconvenient it is for a hacker and how they're just going to move on to the next person.
Yes. In theory, when implemented extremely well.
Yeah.
But I just don't think so. I think actually if it's inconvenient, it shows that system hasn't been thought through a lot.
Well, do you know why we need two-factor authentication? People using the same password across the same site. So when one site is compromised, people just take that username and password. It's called credential stuffing, and just stuff it across the internet. Right. So if 10 years ago, when we told everybody, don't use the same fucking password across the internet, across multiple sites, maybe two-factor wouldn't be needed.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need two-factor if everyone did a good job with passwords.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying like the two-factor authentication, it should be super easy to authenticate myself with some other device really quickly. Like it should be frictionless.
Like you just hit okay,
and anything that belongs to me. Yeah,
right.
And like it should very importantly be easy to set up what belongs to me. I don't know the full complexity of the cyber attacks these platforms are under. Right. They're probably under insane amount of attacks.
Yeah, you've got it right there. That people have no idea, these large companies, how often they're attacked, on a per second basis. And they have to fight all that off and pick out the good traffic in there. So yeah, there's no way I'd want to run a large tech company